Hello there. We're at Merrimack State Park. We're in this little section of the park south of the Merrimack River, just off this old dirt gravel-ish road. And we're going to bushwhack, roughly a 6-mile out and back to Greens Cave. But let's start by exploring a 3/10 of a mile trail around the old Hamilton Iron Works before we really get lost in the woods. Just off the parking is this little kiosk, and it has some information about the ironworks and the types of work that people would have done here. They estimate in its operating time, this would have been the mid-1800s, there were about 60 houses, 4 workers in this area. It would have been a very busy area, actually. Interesting to see it now, pretty much reclaimed by nature. Not too worried about ticks. This time of year, it's warm enough to be on the lookout for bears. They're often sighted in this area. They're black bears. I'm not really that concerned. But we're just getting out here after 2 days of rain, and we're going to have multiple creek crossings, and then there's the mud. That's probably my largest concern for today. Let's see what we've got. This is what remains of the old iron smelter. Looks like the little trail is just a loop around this area. We'll see bits of foundation, and I'm looking for hopefully what remains of an old road. It would be a dirt road, and it sounds like it's really overgrown, but if I could find that, it should follow Hamilton Creek roughly for a while and cross the creek a few times. This will take us out. Hamilton Creek will sort of skirt along the edge of till we get to the Merrimack River. Then we'll go downriver about a half a mile to get to Greens Cave. There are 2 ways to bushwhack to Greens Cave. One is through Hamilton Hollow, where we are now, and the other is through Sleepy Hollow. I chose this route because we'll go by Hamilton Cave, a couple of springs, 3 springs I believe, a couple of old farmsteads before we get to Greens Cave. It sounds like there's really a lot to explore out here, so this should be a lot of fun. Well, this is kind of nice. Looks like there are a few interpretive signs along this trail. This is talking about the ore piles left behind. Apparently the iron content was 60 to 70% in the iron ore in this area, which is quite high. So we came in here. Here's the what remains of the blast furnace. We're roughly heading up in this direction. I haven't seen any signs of an old road, so that ought to be interesting. Looks like a huge charcoal house, charcoal dump all along this area. A blower house. I didn't see that. I didn't notice the casting house. We walked right through the area it was at. Over here in this corner is Hamilton Creek, so as we come down this trail, then we'll start our bushwhack down to the creek and follow the creek for about 2.5 miles to the Merrimack, and then another half mile up to Greens Cave. Well, that's kind of neat. An old silo just out here in the woods. So we're standing in what remains of an old foundation, certainly newer than the 1800s. I'm not certain what this would have been. So it's rare to go anywhere out in the Missouri woods, not find some old corrugated tin on the ground somewhere. There's an old roadbed. You could just make it out. There really aren't that many remains here. Here we have what remains of the old blower house and what remains of the iron smelter over here. Up the hill above it, you could just see a few rocks that were the foundation for the bridge house. And then farther uphill is just a flat area where the charcoal house had been. Let's find Hamilton Creek and start the bushwhack. Well, here's Hamilton Creek. We're not that far from the smelter. I guess what I could do is climb down, walk the creek bed for a bit, and see how that works out. The stream isn't up that much. After 2 days of rain, I expected a little more water. I was hoping to find some signs of paths that people have bushwhacked on before, but I'm really not seeing that. Now, that old road bed that was up the hill behind the smelter, there was a group of people that came in behind me, and they went up that old road, so I can only assume they're on a bushwhack to Greens Cave too. It looks like it goes away from the cave, not towards it, but I'm sort of tempted to follow that. It would be an easier path. I'll let you know which I decide. it's a beautiful stream bed. Pretty rugged. Progress is going to be slow. I'm going to look for a path through the woods that kind of parallels the stream bed. That's what I'm supposed to be looking for. If I don't find that, then I'm going back up behind the iron smelter and following the old road bed and hoping for the best there. Okay, here we have a fairly well established path on the other side of the stream. The doubt in my mind is because the other party that came in behind me went on the old road bed, and I've never been here before, so they're probably on to the right course. We're in this little jut out of parkland surrounded by private land, and this could be somebody's path to their house, something like that. Only way to find out is to follow the path and see where we go. Well, if I am going the right way, this is the easiest bushwhack I've ever done. I mean, it is a pretty well established path, a lot of briars all over the place, so I'm getting snagged on those a lot, and pretty wet just from the rain on the brush, but this is way better than I was hoping for. I'm really hoping I'm on the right path. I'm trying to keep the bluffs for Hamilton Creek in view. As long as I know where the creek is, I know I'm headed in the right direction. Okay, so now it's a little easier to tell that we're on an old road bed. We're in this depression on both sides, down maybe 4 or 5 feet. I can see remnants of old barbed wire fence running along the top edge on that side. This is the creek side, Hamilton Creek side. Nothing there, so probably livestock was held here at one time in the past. Yeah, I think we're on the right course. We're pretty far down this path. So far, knock on wood, it has been way easier than I expected. This really isn't bushwhacking, at least not yet. We'll see what the future holds. I thought we were going to have to cross the stream here. I know we have another creek crossing just before Hamilton Cave, which is a few hundred yards off of this path. It's like a little spur. You'll follow a little creek that flows into Hamilton Creek and that flows out of the cave. Really want to see that. But this obvious path kind of went up this steep mud embankment, and the camera's sitting on it right now. Hope we're going the right way. I know I keep saying that, but I've never been here, and I just really don't know what to expect. I don't want to miss any of the other things like the old homesteads and the multiple streams and Hamilton Cave before we get to Greens Cave. So hopefully I could capture all that on video. Here we go. Well, I thought about bringing a larger pack. This is just my camera pack. It won't hold anything like this jacket. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I don't know where our temp is right now. Later this afternoon, though, we're going to be up to 60, 61 degrees. This is December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. And it's really exceptional weather for this time of year. Of course, that's why we've had all the rain lately, which is not a bad thing. That's actually quite good. But it's steamy out here and muggy. Last year this time, we were down for our highs in the 20s. I remember it was cold and it was frozen everywhere I went. So all I can find on my GPS is Pratt Spring. I can't find Hamilton Cave. There's another old farmstead, another spring before we get to the river. Pratt Spring looks like it's pretty close from where we are right now, and in between here and there is Hamilton Cave. I really don't want to miss that. It sounds like a pretty neat cave. Well, the path just ends abruptly right here at the stream. It was kind of sketchy to start with, so I'm not really sure we're still on the path, but I am next to Hamilton Creek, and that's kind of my guide to get to the Merrimack River. Well, I mean, it is technically winter, even though it's really toasty out here today. I am pretty soaking wet on the front of my pants, and my feet are pretty wet, but that water is going to be cold, so I'm going to try to avoid it. Well, there's no signs of a path at all over here, and I double checked, and that was the end of the path on the other side. So the bushwhacking officially begins now. All right, and exploring on this side of the creek, I found another old roadbed. I know it doesn't look like an old roadbed. It's just a depressed area about the width of a vehicle today. And of course, back in the day when they had horses and wagons, they were much more narrow. So this is an old roadbed, pretty overgrown. Thank God I'm here this time of year instead of summer. And I do know that an old roadbed kind of goes towards Hamilton Cave because that would have been a source of water, the stream that came out of the cave. So I think I may be on the right direction for Hamilton Cave. I'm certainly in the middle of nowhere. Not really in the middle, but I can see the middle from here. Here we have an old fence post. This field used to be a field, is littered with game trails. And it looks like along this base of the hillside here, you've got a deep cut valley right here. I'm guessing Hamilton Cave is probably towards the back of this valley. That's more than a few hundred yards, but let's find out. We've got a small stream at the base of this hill. Really doesn't mean it's the stream that flows out of Hamilton Cave. I have a feeling it is. That sign of the old roadbed back by the creek really kind of clued me in that if this isn't it, we're really close. Still on these old game trails. If I'm going to spook a deer or a bear, this is probably where it's going to happen. I can see it. I can see Hamilton Cave right up in there. I don't know if it comes through on the camera. I've got a whole lot of down tree in front of me. Let's get in there. What a pretty little stream. This flows out of the mouth of the cave. We're about 100 yards from there now. How cool is this? I'm having to film this between the bars. This cave is huge. I miss the days when you could just enter any cave you wanted to and explore. There's even an old sign in here telling you what protective equipment to wear and the dates that they would prefer you not enter the cave because of the Indiana bats, which are an endangered species here. Oh, this is so cool. All right, now to make our way back to Hamilton Creek, and then we'll find Pratt Spring. All right, so we're back in this flattish area in the valley that used to be a field, and there are several huge mounds of forsythia, which is what this shrubby plant is right here. It's non-native. It would have been a landscaping plant for a homestead. It's been used in this country for a long, long time. And I find these occasionally out in the Missouri woods where people had homesteaded back in the 1800s. And so Hamilton Cave is this way, a quarter mile maybe. And behind the camera are a couple of other huge patches of forsythia. I'm thinking at one point someone homesteaded this valley. That would be a beautiful location for a homestead. All right, we're on this high point on the gravel bar. You can tell we're a couple of miles from the Merrimack River, that in the spring this entire valley is flooded out. I would be in the water right now in the springtime. By the way, I wanted to let you know, this is my reference for this bushwhack, 60 hikes within 60 miles of St. Louis. I've used these in other cities too, and they're great guides for, although some of these are more than 60 miles outside of St. Louis, they're all great hikes that are in here. And that's kind of what I'm using to navigate through this area. I know that somewhere I have to cross this creek one more time, and there's supposed to be an old roadbed that came from Hamilton Cave down to the creek and crossed the creek. And any signs of that are gone at this point. There's just no evidence of that old roadbed at all. So I'm kind of guessing at this point where a road would cross this creek and then come back on the other side, and then a few hundred yards from there is when we'll find Pratt Spring. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what this scenery was like around here. It's a little overcast today, a little muggy, a little toasty. It's got to be at that 60-degree mark, it feels like it, and the sun's coming out. It's a beautiful day. Easy peasy. But I gotta say, I'm no longer worried about dry feet after the previous stream crossing. Whoa. Okay, so I think I found the old roadbed on the north side of the creek again. Looks like, it's either that or a wash. It's really hard to say at this point. We've got a few hundred yards, and then somewhere back on the other side of the creek is Pratt Spring. So I could, it comes out of a little cave at the base of the hill. So I could get down to the stream, catch that, get back on this old roadbed, follow it about another half mile, then I'll need to cross the stream again for another spring in an old homestead site that apparently is really difficult to find, but I'm determined. My guess is this is Pratt Spring. Now to cross the creek and find out where it comes out of the hillside. This is really cool. So some beavers dammed this up. You can see the beaver dam right there. Ingenious little creatures. They used a lot of rock in that too. And then here at the mouth of the spring is their food for the winter. All of these fresh green limbs that they've chewed off and brought back. I'll skirt the edge of this. I don't want to get too close just because the beaver should be right in that area and I really don't want to bother them. But you'll be able to see the beaver chew marks on these limbs at the mouth of the spring. Unfortunately, these aren't fresh. I can tell by the chew marks on the ones that are close that they've aged quite a bit. So they're probably from a previous winter. Plus, up inside this major opening on our left, it's totally dammed closed by beaver as well. So at one point they spent the winter here, just probably not planning to this winter. Here you can see the dam from the pool side. A lot of mud, a lot of sticks, but a whole lot of rock. Definitely sturdy enough to walk across too. This is probably difficult to see, but there's a huge shelter cave across the creek from us, right in this area, right here. What I really wanted to show was the size of the stream bed versus the size of the stream at this point in the year, which is at the opposite bank. Not a lot of water in it, but you can see what it's like in the spring. You can see how high the brush is up on the trees that are out in that gravel bar. I'll bet the Merrimack might even back this far up the creek in the spring. Check this out. I saw this from across the creek. I wasn't sure if it was a cave or not. It was difficult to tell. It is really cool though. This is, as far as I know, is an unnamed cave. I'm sure it probably has a name, but it's not on, in any of my research, I couldn't find anything about this one, but it's a pretty large opening. All right, the Department of Natural Resources has a sign up saying that this is temporarily closed because of white nose syndrome. All the caves are. This is one unexpected surprise though. This is very cool. I'm not going to go in any more than like the 2 feet I am now, but you've got this little low point here, which I really wouldn't have to duck under, and then it massively opens up past that. Man, I'd love to explore this cave. Oh well. We'll carry on. I wanted to show you this. We're still on the old road bed on the north side of the creek, up at the top of the creek bank, but you see this big patch of green kind of in the middle, and it goes off to the left and the right. It's kind of a knoll off to the side of the stream. You can tell that the stream will flow when it's a little bit higher on both sides of that knoll. Now, yucca is a sign of an old homestead. It would have been used as a landscaping plant near the house. I'm thinking that what happened here, though, is there was not really a house here. It's a bad location for one, but this washed from upstream down to here, caught root, and then spread. It's pretty. Yucca are native to the southern Ozarks, but not this far north. Okay, what I'm looking for now is this roadbed to kind of terminate in the stream again, in the creek, and there'll be an island the creek goes around. We'll cross the creek at this end of the island and then pick up another old roadbed on the other side. No, I'm sorry, at that point we have to totally bushwhack to the river, but you've only got like a quarter mile to go at that point. But there's also an old homestead site and Homestead Springs there too. I like to find that. Okay, I've got to pick up the pace. I just checked the time and I've only got 3 hours till dark. I'm not even there yet. Definitely need to be back to the car before dark. I am not prepared for an overnight here. Okay, this must be the badly eroded area that was mentioned in the book where the creek splits, and we need to be over here, hopefully to find Homestead Springs, the homestead itself. Then we should be pretty close to the river. And once we hit the river, we've got another half mile of walking the river edge to get up to the cave. So, here we go. Okay, we're truly bushwhacking now. I didn't find Homestead Springs, and I really don't have the time to invest in searching for it on this trip. I've got to really watch my time to make it back before dark. I can still see Hamilton Creek in the background here behind the camera, and I'm just trying to keep that in view and make it to the Merrimack. Alright, so I'm racing to get to the Merrimack, and I just stepped over a fresh pile of bear scat. That is a surprise. Huh. Guess I'll keep my eyes open a little bit better. There it is, way out there, the Merrimack. Alright, I'm going to hoof it up to Green's Cave. Okay, so I was able to pinpoint Green's Cave on Google Maps. I still don't have any like GPS. Oh, they went a wild turkey. GPS specific app So I use Google Maps when I have the opportunity. Otherwise, I'm just winging it. But I found out I need to be along the base of this bluff. I'm going to flip the camera around. See all those really white sycamores in the distance, and at the top of the ridge is cedars. I'm supposed to be over there. I'm actually in the middle of this island on the Merrimack, and I almost blew by right by the cave. So I was trying to follow the river, and that sort of set me up on this island. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get over to the bluffs and find Green's Cave. Oh, there's some gorgeous bluffs too, but we're headed in that direction. I'll get back to you in a minute. All right, you can see on this island, drops down into this bottom. You can see a stream or like a side branch of the Merrimack. Up there are the bluffs and a lot of rock faces. Green's Cave should be over in that direction. I'm just hoping I don't have to wade through waist deep mud to get there. All right, so the reason it was dry when I got to the island and wet here is beaver activity. It's probably a colony of them, looking at how much is dammed off. I don't have much luck or faith in crossing that dam, but oh yeah, look at all those beaver prints. They're big. I don't know if you can see them in the mud. There. This is a main thoroughfare I'm on. Beaver are mean too. Well, here goes. All right, just got finished trudging through ankle deep mud. And now I'm going to try and get back up here and find that bluff and then hopefully Green's Cave. Type 2 fun, I tell you. This is going down on my list of worst ideas for an adventure, but looking back on it, it's going to be a great memory. You guys that have been married for a long time, do you ever get that wife voice in your head? Right now, the wife voice in my head is saying, I told you you should have left earlier. I told you you should get a GPS app on your phone. You know, things like that. I can hear her now. Love you, honey. All right, I'm really calling it close. According to Google Maps, I've still got quite a ways to go in this direction. And I've got just a couple hours left of sunlight, which may not even get me back if I left now. I'm tossing around whether I'm going to call this trip and do it again when I have more daylight, but the ticks hopefully aren't out. I am right at the shortest day of the year, right at the solstice time. I'll let you know in a few minutes. All right, as you can see, it's really rough going and slow going. I've got a long ways to go still too. So it looks like I've still got pretty much most of that half mile left through this, and that's going to take too long. I hate doing this, I'm so damn close. I've never done this before, but I'm going to have to call it. That stinks. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm going to have to head back. I've got a lot of bushwhacking to go to get back to the car, and I'm going to really try and beat sundown. It gets dark in these woods, really dark, especially down in these hollows early. So I'm going to just have to head back to the car. That's the safest thing to do. I'm not prepared for an overnight. I've got no gear whatsoever. A little bitty flashlight won't last long on a charge. And no shelter or any additional clothing other than this hoodie. That's it. All right, so I'm going to do the smart thing and call it. And we'll be back here in early spring when the days are longer and get an earlier start. And we'll do this one again, and we'll be successful the next time. Well, I hope you enjoyed our adventure together. It's still an adventure, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Thanks for coming along with me. See you next week.